Hey everyone, welcome to the last week of demos. I'm back in my parents' kitchen, and this week I thought I'd do a couple of dishes from the book on healthy cooking. The chapter on healthy cooking techniques as well as recipes. So I've chosen two for you, and then of course I'll give you your homework when we meet on Tuesday. So the first one I'm going to do is mushroom bolognese, and first I'm going to talk about a little bit about mushrooms. I've got four types. The recipe calls for a mixed type. To me, the portobello is the meatiest, and it's not rare to see a portobello mushroom sandwich. So let me show you the types I have and the proper way to clean. So here I have an oyster mushroom. Now all of these mushrooms typically grow in dirt, so you have to be very careful and inspect them. With the oyster mushroom, all of this is edible. As a matter of fact, most mushrooms, almost everything is edible. So here I have a button mushroom, and you can see a little bit of dirt on it, so I'm just going to use a paper towel. It's best not to rinse your mushrooms because they're so porous that they can absorb all of that water, and we're going to cook them down and get the moisture out of them anyway, so you're just adding to your cooking time. A lot of times, for those of you that have made stuffed mushrooms caps, you can just kind of pop this out, but that's still edible. And if you're not going to eat it, we're going to chop it for our recipe, but you can always use it to make mushroom stock. So we have that one, the button, and then we have a baby bella or crimini, baby portobello crimini mushroom. We wipe that down as well. And then the last one is the portobello. It's probably not the largest mushroom, but it certainly is substantial, which makes it a great replacement for a burger, for instance. So on this, we're going to clean it. We don't want the gills because they add a lot of discoloration actually to our sauce. So we're just going to take a spoon and scrape. It's not hard at all. And again, probably for the most part, you could use this in a mushroom stock, but most cases you're probably going to discard it. Now, mushrooms, in the book, this is a replacement for ground beef, right? So what I have my expert behind the camera with me. Why are mushrooms good for us?
Well, they're a great source of vitamin D, iron, selenium, copper, and they're considered a superfood because there's no gluten or cholesterol, and they boost bone health.
Excellent. So you can see that, meat also has a lot of good benefits, but for those of you that are trying to avoid meat, this was a great substitute. Now, the book calls for this just to be chopped, but you know what? I thought I was gonna, as I thought about it, I wanted to simulate ground beef. So I thought, let me just put it in the food processor. And if you don't have a food processor, of course, you can just chop by hand and pulse it so we get kind of the consistency of ground beef. And that's all we need to do right there. There's a couple pieces left over here. We'll just pull those out for now. We can chop them again so you can see what we're getting right here, right? So I'm going to now move over to the stovetop and we're going to begin our sauce process. Now, the sauce for this particular dish is just like any bolognese that you might make, a classic bolognese, Italian bolognese sauce. We're going to do a couple more substitutes, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But what we want to do is make sure we cook this down long enough. So I'm just kind of getting you ready to let you know that we're going to do this in a couple of video segments. I'm going to get this starting to cook, and then it actually has to cook for probably 30 to 60 minutes. So we're going to come back and you'll be able to see the finished product when we're all done, and we're going to plate it as well. So the process of this is to begin with the base of any good bolognese, which would be onions, small dice, carrots, small dice, and way down in here I also have some chopped garlic. You can see a few pieces of it right there. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to sweat that. And for those of you that might have forgotten the term sweat, what we're trying to do is bring this color of the onion and garlic from opaque to translucent. Okay, we want to make these vegetables soft, in other words, before we put them or continue cooking with our chopped mushrooms. Now, in this recipe, I've cut it back a little bit, so I'm using about 1.5 pounds of mushrooms in total. But remember, the mushrooms are probably close to 95% water, so we're going to be cooking that down mostly to get the water out. We're also going to use, in this case, some of the traditional ingredients. We've got some good red wine we're going to use. We have our olive oil, which I'm starting with, salt and pepper, red pepper flakes, and of course chopped whole peeled plum tomatoes. Store-bought this time of year, which is fine. Okay, I'm waiting for this to get hotter, and then we'll begin. But actually what we could do is I could probably get this going, and since I've already spoken to you about the process, the order, why don't we stop the video here and we'll come back and look at the closer to the finished product. Okay.